Good evening and welcome to Spectrum News 1. I am Alex Cohen. As you can see there, jubilation throughout the country from New York to Philadelphia, D.C., and of course here in Southern California, all sorts of cities in between. Supporters of Joe Biden are celebrating the moment in American political history. I'm Alex Cohen, and I want to thank you so much for joining us on a night that marks a significant political shift in this nation. The Associated Press projects Joe Biden as the winner of this year's presidential contest. This is Biden's third run at the Oval Office, but this is not only a tremendous moment for the former vice president, it's also a very historic moment for U.S. Senator Kamala Harris. She is bringing a whole legion of firsts to the White House. She is, of course, the daughter of immigrants from India and Jamaica. She will become the first woman, the first Black person, the first Indian American, and the first Asian American to hold the office of vice president. She will also be the very first graduate of a historically Black college and the first member of a Black sorority to be in the Oval Office.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last. Because every little girl watching tonight sees that this is a country of possibilities. And to the children of our country, regardless of your gender, our country has sent you a clear message. Dream with ambition, lead with conviction, and see yourselves in a way that others may not, simply because they've never seen it before. But know that we will applaud you every step of the way.
And now that Kamala Harris has broken through a glass ceiling that will land her in the White House, we turn to the man of the hour, former Vice President Joe Biden.
The people of this nation have spoken. They've delivered us a clear victory, a convincing victory, a victory for we the people. We've won with the most votes ever cast on a presidential ticket in the history of the nation. 74 million. What I must admit has surprised me. Tonight, we're seeing all over this nation, all cities and all parts of the country, indeed across the world, an outpouring of joy, of hope, renewed faith in tomorrow, bring a better day. And I'm humbled by the trust and confidence you've placed in me. I pledge to be a president who seeks not to divide, but unify, who doesn't see red states and blue states, only sees the United States.
Now, while there have been celebrations all over Southern California, there has been probably the most energy tonight coming out of West Hollywood, and that's where we now find our Itai Hod. Itai, what's going on at this hour post-speeches?
Good evening, Alex. Yes, we're on Robertson and Santa Monica, where the headline here is West Hollywood is ecstatic about President-elect Joe Biden. This has been the scene here all day long. Since about 10:30 this morning, thousands of people pouring onto the streets, celebrating this historic moment, dancing, popping champagne. It's been a remarkable scene. Earlier this morning, they were treated to Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, who came here with their car. The crowd here erupted. Chrissy Teigen, visibly emotional. It's hard to overstate the level of enthusiasm here. It's been quite remarkable. I can tell you that I spoke to several revelers here who came from all over LA just to be here and to witness this in person. One of them told me she cried when she heard the news this morning. She said to me, "This is better than Christmas, Alex."
And I'm curious, Itai, and I'm not sure how much people were able to listen to the speech or see the speech there on their phones, but I thought it particularly significant that both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden referred to people of various gender nonconforming. We just have a few moments there, but I'm just curious how the speeches went over with the crowd there in West Hollywood.
Yeah, so I can tell you it's been rowdy like this all day, except for that one moment when both Kamala Harris and Joe Biden gave their speech, and everyone here literally stopped everything just to watch it on the monitors here on all the bars surrounding this area. I can tell you, you could hear a pin drop, Alex.
Itai, thank you so much for your reporting all day and evening. And we go now to our very own Amrit Singh for more on how we got to this particular moment.
Alex, what a difference a night's sleeps make, right? Last night we went to sleep not knowing who the president-elect would be officially, and today we woke up with a check mark next to Joe Biden's name as he now has 75 million votes, and that sets a record, the most votes ever for a presidential candidate. Second most, the man on the other side of the screen, President Donald Trump, has 70 million plus, and it gives you a sense of just how many people turned out for this election as both candidates eclipsed the previous high watermark for Barack Obama of 69.5 million. Let's take a look at the electoral map here. When we went to sleep last night, we saw 264 electoral votes for Joe Biden. Of course, he needs 270. Today, it's 290. How do we get there? Well, from 264, we added 20 right here in Pennsylvania when that was projected by the Associated Press, bringing us to 284. And then you had Nevada with 6, and that makes it 290. And I think this is a good moment just to pause to consider what really happened across the United States in this election. Coming into this election, Joe Biden's strategy was simple. Resurrect what we call the blue wall. That's Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin, along with that consortium of other Democratic states that have voted Democratic for decades. If those 3 states could have come back to Joe Biden, he would have gone from 232, which was Hillary Clinton's total, to 278. And he did that. But you see, we're at 290. So where do we get those extra 11 electoral votes? Well, this is where we talk about the flips. Joe Biden flipped Arizona. That's 11 votes. That gets us to 289. So what is that one extra electoral vote? And that comes from Nebraska. That is a 5 electoral vote state. That is one of the 2 states of Nebraska and Maine are those states that separate out their electoral votes. And Nebraska's 2nd district flipped for Joe Biden, and that gets him to 290. We still haven't talked about Georgia and North Carolina. And of course, when it comes to President Trump, before we hear a concession, we're probably going to hear about lawsuits, and we're probably going to hear conversations about recounts too. And ultimately, this really comes down to, for him, to Pennsylvania, such an important state for his strategy, even ongoing when it comes to lawsuits and recounts. Let's take a look at what is happening in Pennsylvania at the moment. And you see here, Joe Biden is a projected winner by the Associated Press, and this difference of about 47,300 votes and a difference of about 0.6% is going to be an issue for Donald Trump for 2 reasons. For one, you got to be within a half percentage point to get that recount under Pennsylvania law, and right now he's outside of that amount. Number 2, you're talking about an amount that he may not be able to make up with respect to the lawsuits that he has filed with these sequestered ballots of these late arriving mail-in ballots. That entire basket is about 40,000 votes. If Joe Biden gets 78% of that, as he has been getting so far, he would actually add to this lead, not subtract to it, and Donald Trump might not really have a path forward. But we're going to see more of these lawsuits, and later on, Alex, we'll talk about the litigation strategy that President Trump has moving forward when it comes to this election. Back to you for now.
Thank you so much, Amrit. Biden has made it clear that while he ran as a Democratic candidate, he will govern as an American president. Those words came earlier today in the Los Angeles Times in an op-ed penned by our next guest this evening. Adam Schiff represents California's 28th congressional district, and he joins us now. Thank you so much for doing so. And I'm curious your take on the speech that we heard tonight, the 2 speeches, in fact, from both President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris.
I thought they were really perfect for the time, the mood of the country, this moment. They were unifying speeches. They were speeches designed to bring the country together after a really divisive 4 years. And what the vice president said was really nothing new. He's been saying this on the campaign trail. He intends to be the president of the entire United States, not the blue states or the red states, but all of the states. And he's going to extend his hand and try to work with others. It's time to come together as a country. And I think Kamala Harris, for her part, just exulted in what the country did in terms of embracing a different kind of a vice president in her candidacy, and the boldness of that choice by Joe Biden, and the ceilings that are shattered and the color barriers that are broken with her selection. So a wonderful night, and I think really picture perfect speeches by both.
And I'm curious if you don't mind sharing with us. I would just love to know what the tone of the conversation has been like. I mean, tell me about the texts that you've been getting and sending amongst you and your colleagues there in Congress, because we are seeing some significant shifts in power potentially here.
They've been really quite ecstatic and relieved. A lot of them have been very humorous, as you can imagine. Some incredible memes going around on every subject, but I think the profound reaction is relief that the election is over, that we have a clear winner, that the country can move on, that we can hopefully bring an end to this terribly divisive chapter of our history. The predominant reaction from friends and colleagues listening to the vice president was, it's so nice to have a president who sounds like a president again. So that's been the predominant reaction that I've been hearing from people.
And as you wrote in this op-ed today, Joe Biden has a lot of work ahead of him. I know tonight is a night that many people are either looking to, it's a sad night for them or a moment of celebration, but this pandemic doesn't stop. The virus does not care what is happening currently in American politics. So what are you and your colleagues hoping to do in the next couple of weeks as we go through this transition of power?
I think the priority in the next couple of weeks is going to be try to get this relief package done, get it signed, sealed, and delivered to help families that are really struggling, to help small businesses stay afloat, to help renters pay their rent and homeowners avoid foreclosure, to make sure that our hospitals have the protective gear they need. So that emergency relief is priority number one. But as the transition team takes shape, what they're really going to be focused on and have to is, how do we bring an end to this pandemic? How do we defeat the virus? How do we get back to a reliance on science and fact to guide our approach? Because relying on fiction has been catastrophic. We now have 120,000 people a day newly infected. We are losing American lives at the rate of more than 1,000 a day. So the very top priority for this new administration is going to be successfully attack, defeat the virus, bring back our economy, bring back jobs. That really is, I think the number 1, 2, and 3 priorities.
And our viewers there are seeing footage live from Washington, D.C. And I don't know if they can make out there's a giant sign that says, "You're fired." Congressman Adam Schiff, of course, you were one of the driving forces in the impeachment inquiry. I'm curious your thoughts. What do you think is next for Donald Trump? What do you think should be next for Donald Trump?
Well, we would all, I think, like to see him go quietly into that good night. But he's made it clear even before the election he was never going to accept the results. If he didn't win, he was going to make spurious claims of fraud and he was going to sue. And sure enough, that's exactly what he's doing. And he will probably continue to do that. But I think as the country comes to accept the results of this election, as the votes continue to pile up for Joe Biden, he just comes off worse and worse and worse. And I think more people will abandon him. And it will look like a fruitless, effort by a very sore loser. I don't think anyone thinks this is going to go smoothly or perfectly. If they were a normal administration, they would work with the incoming administration to make it as effortless a transition as possible, to help that new administration get prepared for the enormous task ahead. But I just can't imagine that's going to happen.
Congressman Adam Schiff, let us also just take a moment to remind our viewers that this was a big week for you, as well as you were reelected by quite a significant amount of votes. Thank you so much for taking the time out with us this evening, and congratulations on yet another term in the House of Representatives.
Well, thank you, and a profound thanks to my constituents. I'm grateful for their continued support.
And many of them are our Spectrum News One viewers, and we want to say to all of you, thank you so much for watching us live here this evening and all throughout the day. If you have been watching, if you do choose to go out, just remember that, in fact, we are still living through a very deadly pandemic, so please be safe as you go out to protest or demonstrate. Coming up later this hour, we've got LA Mayor Eric Garcetti. Don't go away.